North Korea said Sunday it successfully carried out a drill for a simulated tactical nuclear attack, which South Korea's military calls overstated and exaggerated. For more, we're joined by Brian Mars this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can we see these as retaliatory actions against a major joint exercise between South Korea and the U.S. that ended last week?
Well, there's probably an element of tit for tat involved, but when you train your troops either in defensive or offensive maneuvers, you basically compel the other side to conduct exercises too. And this is one reason why the North Koreans are always so angry about Ulchi Freedom Shield and the other exercises that take place here. It's because they force North Korea to use up a lot of precious resources, oil in particular, which it might prefer to use elsewhere. But let's take a step back and look at the longer term picture. The only area of North Korean life that is functioning on an international level is the nuclear and ballistic sector. And that's because scientists have free rein to follow their own technological timetable. So I don't think we should read into every kind of missile activity some sort of dramatic statement about topical developments here in South Korea. I think to do that would be to trivialize this nuclear program into a succession of propaganda spectacles. And of course, it's much bigger than that.
That's a very good point. Now, we're talking about this simulated tactical nuclear attack that involved cruise missile launches, right? Then why is South Korea's military actually questioning what the North is describing as successful? I mean, based on what evidence?
Well, South Korea always tries to cast doubt on Pyongyang's claims to military achievement, but the North Koreans do seem to be withholding footage of one cruise missile, from which fact the South Koreans are, I think, quite reasonably inferring that it didn't meet expectations. So you've got a failure rate of 50%, not great. And even in the case of the other missile, there's room for doubt as to whether it actually hit its intended target. We can't be sure about how accurate it was. On the other hand, South Korea is acknowledging that this was indeed a cruise missile, as opposed to what happened about 2 weeks ago when the North Koreans said they fired a cruise missile and the South Koreans said, no, that was just a ship-to-ship missile. This time there could be no doubt it was a cruise missile. It was in the air for a significant amount of time. So however you look at it, this does seem to be at least a moderate step forward in North Korea's missile program, which is, of course, something to be concerned about.
Professor Myers, there was also another report on North Korean leader Kim Jong-un inspecting a major shipbuilding manufacturing facility and also a major munitions factory. Now, what's the motive behind these visits? What's your take on these?
Well, Kim Jong-un is a military-first leader, and visiting military-relevant facilities has always been his most common public activity. So this isn't all that strange. But I think there's another aspect to this. He's been calling recently for the expansion of weapons and munitions production and for more attention to be given to developing the Navy's capabilities. So I think it's only natural that he would want to underscore this rhetoric by visiting that sort of location. There's been a lot of attention devoted to the Navy over the past week or so.
Right, it's nothing new that he's been emphasizing these enhancing the regime's maritime forces. Then how likely is it that there'll be actual joint drills between North Korea and Russia? Because there are speculations on this.
Yeah, well, South Korean intelligence assumes that the Russians have already proposed joint military drills to Kim Jong-un. And this may well be why the Russian defense minister visited Pyongyang last July. Now, whether North Korea is interested is another matter. Some experts say that it's too secretive, it always wants to go its own way. But I disagree. North Korea has always liked to play China and Russia off against each other for maximum benefit. And I think it would like to show Beijing and Washington as well that it is no longer dependent for aid and protection on only one foreign country. I think North Korea wants to be incorporated as an equal partner into this sort of budding cooperation with China and Russia. And it's hard to do that without upgrading North Korea's Navy. Also, when you combine a strong missile capability with a strong Navy, you become much more formidable to your adversary. So I think that's another reason why North Korea probably is interested in working together with the Russians in the maritime area.
Sure, there was the North's second attempt to launch its first military reconnaissance satellite, short-range ballistic missile launches last week, and also cruise missiles over the weekend. Professor Myers, will there be more military provocations from the North in the coming days? I mean, the 75th founding anniversary of the North is coming this weekend.
Yeah, that's a big day, sure. Now, I think we could well see more military activity from the North Koreans between now and the 9th of September. But I would caution against regarding it either purely as a provocation or as, mere fireworks connected to an anniversary. As I said earlier, the North Koreans are following a very long-term technological timetable. They're playing a very long game indeed, and I think we need to acknowledge that.
Definitely. Professor Myers, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you.